Call to order. This is Coney County Council meeting. It's April 19th, 2022, 6 p.m. As a reminder, the public has two times that they can speak in council meeting. The first is public comments, and the second is public hearing, if there's one scheduled. Other than those two times, the public should remain silent during the council meeting. Anyone making a disturbance during the meeting will be asked to leave council chambers for the remainder of the meeting. Also, as a reminder, please ensure that you follow the county's legal prohibition against engaging in partisan political activity, including speech, during this meeting. This meeting is not called for that activity, and such activity is prohibited by law. Moment of silence, please. Mr. Rubin?
Yes, sir. Pray with me if you'd like to. Well, our Father, thank you for this day, for creating this day for us to live and enjoy and do good, and for creating us. Help us to be mindful of that we didn't make ourselves, we don't sustain our lives, but by your wisdom, we are held together. By your wisdom, we're able to have meetings like this, to deliberate and carry out your purposes, and I pray that that would happen this evening, that you give us your guidance, your wisdom, that your will would be done, and we would follow your commandments to love you, to love our neighbor, and in loving our neighbor this evening, help us to be mindful, to be slow to speak, slow to anger, quick to listen, and quick to be kind. I pray this in your name. Amen.
Mr. Kane, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the April 5th, 2022 regular minutes?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Root?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I just had one item, the procurement item that's captioned Engineering Consulting ARPA Funding Management Compliance. Just to give a heads up to the public, the AIS, or the Action Information Sheet, I just called it the AIS, I forgot what it stands for.
Agenda
There you
items.
go. There you go. We had to substitute that out because it was a little bit unclear as to the cost basis for this proposal, but we got that worked out on an hourly basis with a cap. So today we got a new AIS loaded up with the supporting documents. Council was provided a copy of that this morning. That's just a housekeeping matter, but that's all I had.
Thank you. Ms. Rock?
I don't have anything this evening, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, presentation to council. The first presentation is School District of Coney County, fiscal year 2022-2023. Budget presentation, Dr. Thorsland and Ms. Moore.
Good afternoon. How are you all?
Good.
So I just have a few slides here tonight. I'm just going to give you a quick summary of where we are and what we're going to be asking for in the year to come. So just a little update from last year. Our fund balance grew in 2021 by $1.7 million. We had more revenue than we had budgeted, some of that from local taxes and some of that from state revenue. Our expenditures were actually less than we budgeted by a small amount, just 0.5%. And our fund balance did grow by to $22,954,742. This next slide is just a recap of the last 5 years of our fund balance. Like I said, $22,954,000, and that is 21% of our expenditures. Our board policy calls for 20%. Some background for this budget year. It's been, I'd say, a little crazier than normal. The House of Representatives passed a budget using the governor's new funding model with additional money of $227 million. This included a $4,000 increase to the state minimum salary schedule, and that would be each cell of the minimum salary schedule. The state funding in this particular formula that comes from EIA requires 25% local match. In the past, we have not had to match any EIA dollars. We were only matching the EFA portion of our funding. So then, we actually prepared a budget based on House projections, and then we got information about the Senate K-12 Finance Committee work that they were doing on the budget. In their committee, they changed the funding to a hybrid. They did not leave the full funding according to the governor's new plan. In their funding plan, we will get the same funding we got last year with the old formula, and then we'll get the new funding based on the new model. And that gives us less funding than the House version did. Also changed the salary schedule increase to $2,000 per cell, down from the $4,000. In this budget, we are planning for an 18.1% increase to health insurance and the 1% employer's retirement matching contribution. So in preparing the budget, just a few things for you to know. We did include the $2.8 million increase in state funding. There is Tier 3 funding that's increasing, that comes from the state, and that's $887,000. We did not do the $2,000 per cell for the teacher salary schedule. Instead, we're trying to do a 4% raise for all employees. I understand that the state employees are getting 3%, so we thought 4 was reasonable. And then, of course, anytime you raise salary, you have the same increase in payroll matching, and then the employer share of health and dental insurance, and that comes to about $1.8 million. There are a few other small changes because of enrollment projections, and I did this year increase our maintenance budgets just a little. We have not done that in many, many years. And I just took a 5-year average of what we'd spend and increased them just a small amount. So that's the $190,625. So the total budget for next year is $113,416,767. And we are asking for local tax funding of $50,745,759. The $20,235,918 is from the state tax reimbursements, the tier money, and motor carriers, merchants inventory, manufacturer's depreciation, those kind of fees. So it is an increase from last year's revenue of $1.8 million. However, we are hoping, as we did last year, that we can capture the growth of the mill. And since this year was the reassessment year, we're really hoping for that. We're not necessarily asking for an increase in tax millage. We're just asking that we be allowed to capture that growth and hope that we will be able to fund this budget based on that. So that is all that we have, and we have to answer questions.
Well, yes, I have a statement, Dr. Thorson. Your proposed budget increase should reflect growth in the base for the reassessment, which was your first bullet. We will decrease the millage to negate the increased revenue due to reassessment.
Right.
So don't count any revenue from the reassessment.
Right, we understand.
Well, that was your second bullet.
I was just making the statement that this is the year of reassessment.
Okay.
We're not
Necessarily.
expecting growth from that, but there still will be growth from last year to this year.
Yes,
Uh,
yes.
And the housing sales that have gone on, the new growth in the county, there should be revenue from that, and we would like to capture that.
We will not approve a budget that captures any increase in revenue from the reassessment.
Okay.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So the raises, so the state mandated, is the final 2,000 or is it?
The budget's not
It's
finished.
not set yet.
There'll still be some conference committee negotiation, so no, we don't know that that's for sure.
it's one of the difficulties in South Carolina, just of us even bringing a budget to you at this point. We have to bring a budget to you because we need to get the budget approved by June 30th, and the calendar requires that we get a first reading to you, this time of year, just so we can accomplish that. However, our state legislature's not even finished with state funding. The House passed a budget, the Senate Finance Committee has already changed it, the full Senate hasn't voted on their budget, and then from there, it's gonna have to go in a conference committee, and so it's difficult for us to anticipate at this time. So we're somewhat limited with our information, but again, to get 3 readings in before July 1st, we have to come here with very limited knowledge and present to you what we can. We did the same with our school board last night. As we get information from the legislature, we will certainly update our numbers, and the second, third readings may be different than what we see tonight.
So the $2,000 raise, right? So that the state mandates, if you do 4%, I imagine starting teachers would be less than that $2,000 per year. Can you do that? I mean, if it's.
We can this year.
We can, because the $2,000 in South Carolina, there's a state minimum teacher salary schedule. There are very few districts that pay exactly the state minimum. There are a few, but they're generally along the I-95 corridor. Most districts pay above the state minimum teacher salary schedule. And if a district already pays above, then under the Senate finance budget, we're not required to go up the exact amount.
I understand, because the local pay is already above the state.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
And with the state proposals for salary increases, is it just certified teachers, or do they go to administrators too that they're looking at?
What we have calculated is for every employee in our district. The $2,000 would not necessarily be, that's a teacher's salary schedule only.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chad Carlson, Vice President, Green Crescent Trail, presenting information related to trails and greenways and the benefits they provide the community. Mr. Carson?
Hey, I'm not Chad Carson. My name is, Chad is here, and I'm going to introduce him for you, but my name is Andy Blondeau. I'm the Clemson City Administrator, and I'd like to thank you all for inviting us here tonight to allow us to share our vision for a multi-jurisdictional trail system. The Green Crescent Trail is an independent nonprofit organization, and up to this point, the City of Clemson has been the primary partner in that endeavor, although we have been successful in obtaining funding from several other sources, from our local delegates and Duke Energy and Clemson University, and taking advantage of grant opportunities through the state as well. So far, the city's invested or been able to leverage about $2.2 million of investment into this trail system. And the benefit of this trail system for us is to create a connecting mechanism for bringing people together with green spaces, community amenities, neighboring jurisdictions, and the business community. Our most recent success is constructing a pump track, which is basically a roller coaster for bicycles, where you don't have to pedal and the momentum carries you around. And just last night, the mayor was forwarding me emails from people in Greenville who said, we enjoyed coming here and taking advantage of this unique amenity. And by the way, the family went downtown and we bought ice cream at your ice cream shop. So I thought that was a great testament to the economic development benefits of trail systems like this. And now I'm going to invite Chad Carson to come up here to tell you about the other, more detail about those types of benefits. And we did recently apply for a SCDOT RAISE grant that will pay for, if funded, pay for 17 miles of design, which will be a large section of this trail that'll make us shovel ready for future grant opportunities that we hope you guys will want to be a part of. So now I'm going to bring Chad up here and he can go over some of the economic benefits of this and how it can benefit Oconee County.
Good evening. How are y'all? Thanks for having me. I know you have a limited time here in the schedule. Y'all been busy tonight, so I thought I would just share a few things. First, what are we talking about here with this vision for a connected regional trail system? Is it worth it? Are there any clear returns? And then also, is it possible? How is it feasible? So I'm going to try to stick to those three questions. And what is it? I think the regional aspect of this is the key thing we're here to talk to you about, to collaborate on. So far, this has been a community effort of grassroots community members. I'm a local city resident, a volunteer on the nonprofit board. It's also been local businesses, it's been students at the university. But the big vision of this is being a regional network that includes Pickens County, Oconee County, and Anderson County. And so that's the big picture, including universities in between as well. So trail network is the idea, is the vision for that. So one question is, what's a trail network? And it's going to be multiple types of trails. In some cases, it might be just natural surface trails, which I know Oconee does a wonderful job of providing for citizens, but also multi-use paths, which if you're familiar with the Swamp Rabbit Trail, with the Doodle Trail, the 10-foot to 12-foot wide paved paths, that's kind of the premier type of path that we try to have. But then in other cases, there's just improving sidewalks in certain locations, having parks and public spaces for people to access, and then also public transit, trying to connect with public transit. The key theme that we're trying to create is having spaces for people on their feet or people using wheels, so bikes, scooters, things like that. The thing that's really interesting about this particular project in terms of impact is sort of an intersection of recreational amenity and transportation amenity. So it does, depending on where it is and what location it's in, it's going to lean more towards one or the other. And from a recreational standpoint, and some of the examples, I'm going to show you a couple examples in the upstate. Tourism has been a big part of that, attracting people. Andy's example, just from local tourism, people come from another county over and using it, but also out of state. Quality of life for the local residents, being able to use it, get outside, health benefits. One of the reasons Prisma Health has been a sponsor for the Swamp Rabbit Trail has been because of that, wanting to invest in public health and not just emergency medicine, but also preventative health. And so it's that type of infrastructure. But then even more from an economic development standpoint is recruitment. And a lot of what we're noticing is when local businesses are coming to town or hiring people, they're looking at what amenities their employees can use. And at the top of the list has been public recreation, outdoor recreation. And so this is one of the example of one of those kinds of investments. And in other cases, also traffic mitigation. As the whole area grows, which is coming, and we all know that, how can we maintain the feeling of our small communities, the feeling of the things we love about our areas, our green spaces, our small town feel? We think that having alternative transportation options, especially when you get into the city environments, the commercial district environments, the university environments, it could also be a transportation component. And young people will bike, will walk, will use that kind of for transportation, for commuting. So is it worth it? That's of course the question. We're having to invest money in this. City of Clemson's investing money. We're raising private money. You would have to invest some money as well. One of the benefits is we have other examples locally in the upstate and all over the state, and really all over the country, but we have some locally that we can get some pretty good data from with the Swamp Rabbit Trail in particular. I'm going to show some examples of that. I just wanted to read a quote from the former mayor of Travelers Rest, who, if I remember right, was pretty skeptical about it when they first built it. But his quote was, "The single most important thing that's happened to the city of Travelers Rest in years was the coming of the Swamp Rabbit Trail." And they've invested a lot of other money in downtown revitalization, but the Swamp Rabbit Trail connecting to a town of 5,000 people has made an enormous impact. And for those of us who've been to Travelers Rest before and after, seeing the number of small businesses, locally owned businesses, restaurants, shops, it's like pouring Miracle Grow on a downtown area. It's really been amazing to see what the trail system's done for that. There's very specifically one metric, it's not the only metric, but the hospitality tax in Travelers Rest, and I got this data from a report by the state of South Carolina, or the Eat, Move, don't remember the name of the report, and also the Travelers Rest hospitality budget showed that $300,000 was their revenue in 2007 before the trail, $650,000 in 2016, $778,000 in 2020, which is just a reflection of the vibrancy that you can see anecdotally when you're there in town as well. Sort of an aspirational, bigger pictures, as we're speaking to regional. There's a lot of regions in the country, but I think Northwest Arkansas is a pretty good example of several small towns and a whole region, like the northwest corner of South Carolina could be, being a outdoor recreation destination, not just locally, but also in the region. They've done a really good job. It's the headquarters of Walmart and part of in Bentonville, so that's one big, they funded a study on how much that's impacted their area. And a total of $137 million of benefits in 1 year in their area just based on trails economically. So part of that is health savings cost. The other part was directly with tourism and economic development type benefits. $27 million in tourism spending, so out of that total spending, part of that was tourism. And then a really interesting component of that is 1/3 of the people they surveyed in their area who were looking for housing preferred a house that was near a paved trail. So people are moving there and wanting to live in places that were close to that. We've done some local estimates. Dr. Bob Brookover is a professor at Clemson University. He's also now city council at Clemson. Has done some estimates on how it might impact some of our area. And just one estimate, more conservative estimate on the number of users was 250,000 users per year. If 25% of those users were tourists and spending an average of $54 per tourist, would be about $3.37 million per year in tourism impact spending. To compare that, Greenville County has about $7 million a year, based on some recent studies, in tourism spending from the Swamp Rabbit Trail. And then another metric that we've looked at some, for every $1 million of trail investment, he's estimated that $1.52 million in economic output from that investment, and 14 new jobs and $21,700 in tax revenue per year. So the third question I told you I would try to cover real quickly is it possible? Not only is it worth doing it, but is it possible to do it? And this is one of those that we have to acknowledge is our opportunity is different than the Swamp Rabbit Trail. It's different than the Doodle Trail because they were a rail trail. They had an old railroad easement that was not being used as a railroad. They were able to purchase that. And so that was an opportunity that both Easley and Pickens had and also Greenville had. So we don't have that opportunity. And there's some pluses and minuses to that. The way we will have to build it, and we are trying to build it in Clemson and Central currently, is to use a variety of different sources. So one of those is existing right-of-ways from the South Carolina DOT, especially on more major corridors or places where there is a larger right-of-way where you already have a sidewalk right-of-way, getting some extra space. Instead of a 5-foot sidewalk, have a 10-foot multi-use path on the side. So that's one way. Another way, though, is using existing low-traffic roads when appropriate. We have one example. Phase 1 in Clemson's a neighborhood, and it's essentially there's no through traffic, and you already have people walking and biking, people pushing strollers, just using that existing road that we're already paying for, striping it, signing it, but connecting to parks that are really strategic. So in some cases, not having to spend a lot of money on building something new and trying to be efficient with our money. But another opportunity that Clemson's taken advantage of is trying to use private developers. So they've approved a map of the city with a greenway plan that eventually will happen, but then if a developer develops a property along that, requiring them to build part of that as an amenity. Not only is it a benefit for the developer, but it's also a community benefit. And then using private developers, parks and public spaces, and churches. We've had a couple churches work with us on easements as well. Funding-wise, local hospitality accommodations tax has been a source for a lot of cities. Grants, federal, state, and private. Regional transportation funds. Anderson County used their regional transportation authority money to build a greenway across town. And I'm not sure if it started building, but I think it's a $3 or $4 million project that they're working on as well. Also private developer funding, corporate sponsors, something we've been working on. And some of these opportunities are easier to have when we have a regional coalition. So going to a ANMED, a Prisma, a Duke Energy, and having naming sponsorship is easier when it's a larger area. So potential next steps, these are just ideas. We're here to try to collaborate and invite collaboration. But potential next steps could be deciding strategic connections within Oconee County that would be your priorities and your low-hanging fruit, and then designing and engineering as many segments as possible, but maybe 1 or 2 segments that make sense in your case, and then collaborating with Pickens County, with the city of Clemson, with Clemson University to raise funds collectively to do it together. Those are some potential ideas. So I really appreciate your time tonight, and just want to reiterate the regional opportunity, the fact that this is something that a lot of different municipalities want to work together on, and it's an opportunity that doesn't happen very often, being able to work together like this, so we'd love that opportunity.
Any questions or?
Mr. Chair, I just want to thank Mr. Carson and Mr. Blondell and y'all's teams for bringing Oconee to the table. I think I was reading a news article earlier this week or last week. It was talking about during COVID and stuff, as people are migrating around, they can choose where to live because so many people are working remotely now. How important in their decision making on where to locate was based on outdoor recreation and things like that. And we have great county parks here already. They're a fantastic asset for this county, and they provide substantial impact in tourism already. And I think this, you can almost think about this as a horizontal county park, an asset that you can actually commute on theoretically. I believe in greenways, and I hope that one day, the majority of this council will, and currently the majority of the council does or has supported recently that. I know we missed out on the RAISE grant opportunity with y'all, but I think it's an asset, and it's something that, I won't be here next year, but I hope that this council will continue to consider support for these initiatives, and wish y'all the best with that grant application, and wish we were part of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I have a question.
Sure.
In all of your research, have you come up with any numbers on the average cost to maintain a paved surface trail?
I don't have
Either per mile or per total cost to build, or?
I don't have it off the top of my head. It'd be, if you take a similar sidewalk maintenance plan, it's going to be a little bit more because 10-foot wide versus 12 versus 5-foot wide, but it's comparable to that for the sidewalk maintenance.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Proclamation 2022-04, a proclamation declaring April 24th through April 30th, 2022 as Conservation Stewardship Week. Whereas soil, water, and other natural resources are critical parts of life, laying the foundation for health and well-being of our community. Whereas the wise use and stewardship of these resources is essential to maintain healthy and thriving populations of plants, animals, and people, establishing a sound environment and a strong economy. Whereas Oconee County enjoys rich natural beauty and resources, such as spectacular waterfalls and lakes, clean air, and healthy prime soils, making Oconee County a destination location and leading agricultural community in South Carolina. Whereas this year marks the 85th anniversary of the establishment of Oconee Soil and Water Conservation District, as well as the adoption of the first conservation plan in the nation by Mrs. Ploma Adams, and whereas Conservation Stewardship Week calls attention to the importance and value of locally led conservation efforts by conservation districts, organizations, and private citizens to continually improve our natural resources for present and future generations. Now, therefore, the Oconee County Council does hereby proclaim April 24th through April 30th, 2022 as Conservation Stewardship Week in Oconee County, and declares its significance to the citizens, encouraging all to recognize our responsibilities to future generations as stewards of our vital natural resources. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I believe you're going to discuss the artwork as well.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Okay, just go ahead.
All in favor?
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
So Mr. Bob Winchester, the Oconee Soil and Water Conservation Board Chair, and any other members, the artwork displayed is from entries in a poster contest, Healthy Forested Ecosystems and Recognition of Conservation Stewardship Week. Now, any child that's here that participated in that, please also come up.
the center, right in the center. I had her grab her.
Good to see you. Thank you, sir.
Our first one?
Yeah. If she can get us in. Put the R in the middle.
I'm gonna look at her first and then me. All right, now me. There we go.
Thank y'all. Proclamation 2022-05, proclamation recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas South Carolina's future prosperity and quality of life depend on the healthy development of more than 1.1 million children residing in the diverse communities across our state, including approximately 15,800 living in Coney County. Whereas preventing child abuse and neglect must be a priority that requires individuals, families, child-serving organizations, schools, faith-based groups, businesses, government agencies, and civic leaders to support the physical, emotional, social, and educational well-being of all children. Whereas child abuse is a serious public health issue with a wide-ranging societal consequences, as data show the link between the abuse and neglect of children in a wide range of costly medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral issues into adulthood. Whereas parents and caregivers who have a support system of family and friends know where to find public resources and understand how to remain resilient in challenging times are best equipped to provide safe, nurturing environments for their children. Whereas statewide and community prevention programs serve as proven and effective ways to reduce child abuse and neglect, no matter the geographic region, race, ethnicity, and economic status. And whereas in fiscal 2020-2021, there were 8,944 founded Child Protective Services investigations involving 15,980 children in South Carolina, and 160 investigations involving 295 children in Oconee County. Now, therefore, the Oconee County Council hereby designates the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month and urges all citizens to dedicate themselves to protect and enhance the quality of life of every child. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Abby Wilson, Children's Trust Director of Community Initiatives, would you please come forward? Congratulations.
Catherine, I'm with the Guardian ad Yes, we have volunteers sitting back.
Do y'all want to come up
Yeah,
as well?
yeah.
Bring them up here too.
Takes us all. Absolutely.
Takes the town.
That's right.
Stand up here in front, y'all hide back here. Don't be
I'm
hiding.
getting by you.
Oh, you money.
Thank y'all all. Public comment session, as a reminder, each speaker is allowed 4 minutes. When 3 minutes is up, a yellow sign will come up. When 4 minutes is up, a red sign will come up. Snipes, Child Abuse Prevention. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me come and speak tonight. What are we doing all year long for child abuse prevention? That's what I'm here tonight to rag on the people of Oconee County and all of our teammates, the Guardian ad litem, all of the different parenting programs, the school system, the library system. It all takes us all to be able to try to make our families stronger and more resilient, because we want the children of Oconee County to grow up to be happy and safe and healthy. There are several things that we're doing. One thing we're going to celebrate on Saturday, April 30th, is a walk for child abuse prevention. We've never done that before. It's not going to cost anything. It's going to be at the Farm Center, where I'm coming today to ask you to come walk a mile in their shoes. It takes 2 times around to make a mile. If you don't want to do 2, you could go 1. But for our community to come together just to celebrate and show that we believe every child matters, and we have to be the champion for children. Let me tell you what Oconee County First Steps is, who I'm the executive director of, and what we do in Oconee County. We're here to help kids get kids ready for school. And we do that in all kinds of ways. And one is through child abuse prevention. We brought the Dolly Parton Imagination Library to Oconee County. It will be 1 year old on July 1st. We were so glad to do that, because every child in Oconee County under the age of 5 gets a free book in the mail every month. So if they're born at Oconee Memorial Hospital, they get the registration and they get a book every month till they're 5. And there's no cost to anyone. Through the monies that I receive and through private donations, we're able to do that. So we're so proud of that. Another thing we do, we offer the Nurse Family Partnership in Oconee County. That's when a young mother, first-time mother, becomes pregnant, and before she's 26 weeks, she signs up, and a nurse stays with her for 2 years to help teach all those great parenting skills. We provide child care scholarships because we know daycare is so expensive, and we also provide free child care training for staff, directors, and teachers in all of our centers across Oconee County for free. We have a couple of things that we'll be doing very special besides the walk that I want to let you know about. Is we're doing a countywide baby shower on Saturday, May 14th. And then something we're planning to start in Oconee County this summer. They've given us some money. We used to have to use our own funds, but this time we don't have to. They've given us all the money we want for Countdown to Kindergarten. And that's where a child meets with a teacher over the summer, and then they walk into the classroom after working with them over the summer for about 5 different lessons. So we're so thrilled. So thank you. Thank you, Oconee County. I wanted to say there's so many people that are working together, and we appreciate that your time tonight.
CD is going to bug me on this.
Mr. Wayne Owens.
I think it's right. It's pretty close.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Owens, and I live in Salem. In the past few weeks, I've been reading in our local paper some information on the finances of Oconee County. And what I've read is that Oconee County has over $148 million in cash, and of that, $80 million is unrestricted. Now, I've read it twice. Once was on April 5th and once was on April 9th. Now, after I read it on April 5th, I went to the Oconee County website where financial information is available. As a matter of fact, I downloaded the county's financial audit and found out that there was, according to the audit, there was $50 million of cash and $10 million of that was unrestricted. Now, I wrote a letter to the editor after the April 5th, the article on April 5th, asking what the difference was between the $50 million and the $180 million. The difference between the $10 million and the $80 million. That's a very significant difference. Now, I do understand that we're sitting here in April of 2022. This audit was June 30th of 2020, and a lot can happen between June 30th and April. But that is a huge difference between what the paper said and what the financial audit said. And I know you can't answer me now, but I would really like to know what the truth is. And if the answer is the $50 million and $10 million, if that is closer to the truth, then is there any foundation between towards that $148 million and the $80 million? Because quite frankly, I'm disturbed by this. I'm disturbed because of the timing of this information, and apparently it is trying to sway an election because of the context that it was written in. Now, this reeks of fake news to me, and that's disturbing to me, and I never thought I would see it come to Oconee County and our local newspaper. So if it's possible, once the public comments are over, if you could at least share with me and us what this difference is. Thank you.
Ms. Karen Benson.
Hello. How are you gentlemen doing this evening? The reason I'm coming to talk to you folks is my husband and I own Benson Farm Supply on East South Broad Street. And I've heard rumors that the Greenway Trail may possibly affect our business because we kind of border the park there and near the old depot. And I was wondering if you could possibly tell me if that's true, because I have yet to see a map of the proposed trail. Can anyone tell me what the situation is on that, if our business would be affected by the trail?
Please, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Ms. Benson, I'm sorry, I believe that is the city of Walhalla. I would be happy to get in touch with provide you the contact type information for the city administrator there.
Okay, that would be wonderful, thank you, that helps me. But I have two other topics I would like to talk about. And I would like to see because our president and other world leaders have talked about possible famine around the globe and logistics issues, getting food to the grocery stores. 10 million or 11 million chickens were slaughtered in, I think it was Iowa or Idaho, because of bird flu. And I think, I was wondering if possibly y'all might consider providing some county-owned property for some community gardens for those folks in the county who do not own dirt that they can grow their own gardens on. I know there was one, I think last year, over near the pool. And I was wondering if that might be something you could consider as a county. And another thing, and that kind of goes along with the Conservation Week thing. And also, litter is a big problem. I don't know, garbage is my pet peeve on the side of the road. I don't let litter fly over my car or my vehicle. I take care of that at home, and it is horrendous. I drive up Highway 11 back and forth every day. And it looks like the people who live here do not know what a garbage can is. And I was just wondering if there was possibly we could get a Clean Up Oconee program going where maybe the businesses that are around clean up their area and then kind of down the roads and then maybe even across the roads, kind of encourage that or we could do something, because the people who mow don't see it. And I was wondering if that would be something. I myself I've picked up 8 construction sites, garbage bags full of stuff, down Earl Street and down Highway 11. And I was wondering if we might prompt others to not litter. I know there's not an actual Oconee County litter ordinance, because I called about it today. There's a state litter law, and I was wondering if maybe we could make it where people who carry their garbage to the convenience centers have to secure it with like a tarp or something, because I myself have picked up at least 5 bags of recycles, full of recyclables, along Highway 11. So that's what I would like to put in your brain and let you think about and peruse. And I thank you for the information about the Walhalla City. And thank you for your time.
Ms. Kay now.
Hi. I'm Kay Knapp. I'm concerned about our property reassessments. I understand that they're going to be sent to us late this summer. I also understand that they were done in 2020. They'll be done again in 2025, and that they can go up 15% each of those times, 15%. The good news is our values are going up. We all know this. We see property values skyrocketing. So that's good for our investments. But it's bad news for our 2023 tax bill. Not this year, but our 2023 tax bill. And it can go up as much as 15%. So an example might be, if my bill's $3,000 right now, it could go up $450, which would be the 15%, to $3,450. Okay, 5 years from now, reassessed again, it could be up around $4,000. We know that the millage rate or the tax rate is set by all of you, the county council and the auditor. With assessments higher, you will need to drop the mill rate to keep taxes the same. I've heard it said that you won't raise taxes, but if you don't drop the mill rate, it's the same thing. Thank you.
Sorry. Miss Catherine Poor. Did I say your name wrong? Okay. Okay, council member comments, and I'll start off with comments. As the budget process continues, it is each councilman's responsibility to make an appointment with the county administrator to go over any budget line item questions that the councilman has. Any Oconee County citizen that has budget line questions should make an appointment with the county administrator to go over those budget line questions. Ms. Knapp, we've addressed this several times. I addressed it at the budget committee meeting today. Our proposed budget increase will reflect growth in our tax base before reassessment. We will decrease the millage to negate the increased revenue due to their reassessment. Any other councilmental comments?
Mr. Elliott?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Knox, is she still in here? Thank you for all that y'all do. I just have a question. The Saturday, April 30th walk, what time is that?
9 to 11.
9 to 11? Thank you, ma'am. And Mr. Owens, I'd advise you to reach out to Mr. Elliott. He's your councilman, see if you can get some answers to your questions that you've asked. But thank you for coming and speaking. Ms. Benson, they own the farm supply store in Walhalla. That's where I buy all of my seed. It's tremendous business. Anytime I'm in there, it's busy, and there's people from all over the place in there. When we talk about attracting people to Oconee County, that business brings them here because there's not many feeding seeds left like that. The greenway that you're speaking about is a Walhalla City greenway, and I have seen the design for that trail. They put it out last fall, and the sidewalk the path goes right in front of your business, and if constructed, you will not have any more loading area or loading docks. So it would be almost impossible for you to conduct business as you do now. As far as community gardens, I mean, I know the city of Walhalla had that community garden. You know, that's a good idea for any vacant county property. If we can open it and let people plant something and grow their own food, I think that's a great idea. And as far as litter, Miss Black, O'Kelly Heating and Air, I know she's leading the initiative to clean up the roadways. She may be a good person for you to reach out to and partner with and trying to get more business. I know she has the same passion for you on cleaning up the roads. So, and Ms. Knapp, on property reassessment, I mean, you're right for to have concerns, because many times we'll hear politicians brag that they held the line on taxes. They held the millage rate, but yet the value goes up, so your taxes go up. So thank you for voicing those concerns. That's all. Thank you. One more thing. So last Tuesday night, I had the misfortune of attending a memorial service for a 3-year-old child, and her family had been attending church with us while they was in the county. And it's tragic. And, we do a lot to bring tourists into the county, to say, hey, look at the waterfalls, look at what we have. And now they went in on the North Carolina side. But we need to make sure we're doing enough, because a lot of these deaths is not local people, right? They may not know the hazard. So we need to make sure that we do enough to notify people of the hazards associated with where they're going. This may not be appropriate for a child or whatever. I don't go on all the trails. I'm sure a lot of them are smart, but maybe this is something we can address as a council and the Health and Public Safety Commission. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Owens, the truth is the audited financial statements. Please email me to my district email, your phone number, and you and I will discuss it. Any other comments?
Yes. Mr. Owens, this is the lighter side. This is an example of what you were talking about. I had a horse, and the local media gentleman had a horse. We had a horse race. Mine won. You know what the paper said the next day? It said that his horse came in second, and my horse was next to last. So that's an example you can use.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Mr. Kane.
I don't have any good jokes like that, Glenn, but it's good. And I would like to thank Ms. Snipes as well as the Miss. I did catch her name earlier, Miss Wilson, rather, with Children's Trust, Director of Community Initiatives. Obviously, it's very important that we take care of our kids. They are our future, and as good people, we have got to take care of our kids, obviously. So thank you for all that you do in Oconee County and across the state of South Carolina in that effort. Ms. Benson, and I agree with you and Mr. Durham on that. If we have any county property that can be used for community gardens, I've been working with some folks with the Oconee Food Council, and they're working on some things. It looks like it's probably going to be delayed until the fall, unfortunately, but I agree 100%. We need to learn to grow our own food again, and pay attention to what's going on in the world around us. The prices are not going to be coming down anytime soon, if at all. And so it's very important that we focus on that here locally. And Ms. Brock, do you know if there are any, or can you produce a list that maybe we could look at setting up some sort of program in the near future for folks to plant plants on county property?
I don't have any off mine, but I do have a list of county-owned properties that we can thumb through to see if it's an equitable fit.
Yeah. I mean, we got a couple lawns out here that are just growing weeds, so maybe we can grow some tomatoes or something. Well, that's how we save money, though. We don't have sod out there.
Trust me, that's not sod, sir.
I know.
It's not zoysia.
And then one other point, to your point, Ms. Benson, on the litter, I agree 100%. It's disgusting and really sad to see people allow trash. I don't know how much of it's people throwing trash out or blowing out of the back of trucks that aren't covered. It's still littering regardless of how it happens. But the council approved last year $75,000 to I think it was it $250 per mile for nonprofits to pick up to 10 miles of road. So they could earn $2,500 per nonprofit in this budget year we're in right now, which ends June 30th. And that would, however many miles that would be, I guess that'd be about 300 miles of road. Ms. Brock, do you have any idea what the status of that program is? Because I know we approved
Not
it.
received any data. The sheriff's office is running and operating that program. I would be happy to collect that data and bring it back for discussion, consideration, and/or update. Or I could have the sheriff come present that information to you.
Do we have a contact for folks if they have an organization that wants to participate in that?
My understanding, sir, it's on their website. Mr. Lieutenant Tommy Crumpton was heading that up.
Okay.
From my side of it. Who the contact is for the public side of it, it may just go to more than one person for it being a litter program pickup, but to my understanding, it is on their website.
Thank you. And I think that's all. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brock, will you, since we just came out of the budget meeting, will you give those numbers direct on the unrestricted and the restricted funds? Do you have
Mr.
those?
Davis, I'm so sorry. I took all 211,000 pages back to my office. Those audit numbers are on our financial transparency page on the Oconee County website. I'd be happy to go get those for you if you want to take a recess, but I did not maintain those books in here with me for this meeting. I apologize.
We'll make sure to get the corrected numbers as we sent in as well. Ms. Snipes and everybody that works with to fight against child abuse and mentor those kids. I appreciate all that y'all are continuing to do. Mr. Owens, I think you bring up a very valid point because, and I'm not talking about just that one thing, but when people put out false information or fear information out to try to confuse the general public, we have to correct those issues. And we have to do it in factual information through meetings to make sure that we're giving the proper out there. But sometimes that is spread through the world of Facebook. It is kind of hard to chase down, that people think that we're doing something wrong or we're underfunding the sheriff's office when we've been pushing to continue to strive to pay the officers what they're due, pay our staff what they're due. So it is very frustrating, not just from that information, but other information that's continually let out there through Facebook sites, newsletters that is skewed a specific way in order to confuse the general public. And it would take too much time to go on there and try to fight that stuff rather than just come here and present facts as we do and do the business that we're supposed to do. Touching base on reassessment, we were, this would be the second reassessment that I'm a part of. The first one came out, a lot of properties decreased. As we've known with things where we're trending, a lot of those properties have sold and there's houses on there. So what you're seeing, the growth in the county and the taxes that we're getting off the growth, we're having to put forth through public safety. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 60-something% of our budget, but that one's continuing to grow, and it needs to grow. Public safety is the number one priority through this council and strategic plan, and will continue to be. We're adding 3 officers, and we need to add 6 officers, in my personal opinion, but it's difficult to train and hire those, so we're trying to do what is the best for our sheriff as well. As in the 15%, that's a state maximum that's out there. I haven't seen it even occur that way, and it's not based on, it's actually based on the home value, and I brought this up in budget, and I'll bring it up again. My home value, I think, is $177,000 on that. Now, my true, if somebody came out there and appraised it, it's going to appraise more than that. So the reassessment is a very fair process. It's not something that any of us are up here in there doing. And I also wanted to bring up that, the ability to appeal if an assessment comes out wrong, whether there's an extra building on there, extra land on there. And Auditor and Assessor's Office does a great job of working with citizens during that appeal process to drop that. Obviously, if you're appealing to decrease that. So they do a fantastic job of making that simple if you disagree with what that reassessment is. And they factor some of those in as well. So as in trying to ever build a budget on gaining an assessment, that wasn't done 5 years ago. It sure is not done now. And if it had been done 5 years ago, that reassessment actually decreased, Mr. Elliott. And I was a part of that we had to make some decisions then, especially with council trying to put in school resource officers and things like that. So I will never plan a budget to gain reassessment just because I've seen it not just here, but others, the total change has sometimes been usually just a flat. It's something that's required, kind of like the comprehensive plan. It's a requirement. So as in seeing huge growth on reassessment, I don't see that at all. And that 15%, we're blessed here that, what do we say today? 28% of our actual taxes that are paid here come from owner-occupied residences. So 28% of the total tax base. So obviously the other comes from industry, things like that. So as we go through reassessment, those things get reassessed as well. So I just wanted to state that, we dropped millage last year. I think we're going to have some chances to do it here coming up. And I think we've done a good job at diversifying our economy. Coming through COVID, we're very blessed in our county. And I think we're the 3rd or 4th lowest taxed county in the state. And if you look at the 3 above us, they struggle with a lot of things. We're very blessed in the upstate to have a great economy coming forward. And again, it was great to drop the mill rate last year. I'd love to continue to do that moving forward.
Any other comments? If not, public hearing of the following ordinance. Ordinance 2022-09. Ordinance amending Chapter 32, Article 5 of Cody County Code of Ordinances governing group residential development. No one has signed up for public hearing 2022-09. I close public hearing 2022-09. Public hearing of ordinance 2022-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 40, Article 5 of the Coney County Code of Ordinances entitled Protection of Historical Memorials. No one has signed up for public hearing 2022-10. I close public hearing 2022-10. Third reading of 2022-09. An ordinance amending Chapter 32, Article 5 of the Coney County Code of Ordinances governing group residential developments. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Third reading of ordinance 2022-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 40, Article 5 of the Oconee County Code of Ordinances entitled Protection of Historical Memorials. Is there a motion to approve?
I made the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Second reading of the final ordinance.
Ms. Woodrow, did you, you had on this paper, unless somebody wanted to? Is it a resolution?
It is resolution, sir.
Okay, sorry.
It's to come.
Same thing, really. Okay, gotcha.
Okay, excuse me. Second reading of final ordinance, ordinance 2022-11, an ordinance authorizing the reconveyance by Oconee County of certain real property previously transferred to Oconee County by the Foxwood Hills Property Owners Association and other matters related thereto. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Ordinance 2022-12, an ordinance to supplement ordinance 2022-07, which appropriated and authorized the expenditure of $1,710,000 of local fiscal recovery funding received under the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, ARPA, for purposes of providing premium pay to eligible county employees by appropriating an additional $276,632 so that the premium pay appropriation and authorization for expenditure now totals $1,986,632 and other matters related thereto. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes, sir.
a question. When is the checks gonna be made or go out? I get asked that a lot.
We get asked that a lot too, Mr. Durham. Mr. Chairman, if I may address that. As soon as we are notified that we've received the transfer from the U.S. Treasury,
That's estimated May.
it is anticipated in May. We have received a date as early as May 2nd and as late as May 18th in different forms of emails from the U.S. Treasury.
We might wanna put out an email, just a blanket
Be
notifying
happy to.
everybody.
The staff members that have received the notice, we told them that we would let them know as soon as we heard. But it has a 3-week range to it, and I'm sure everyone is anticipating this funding.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. First reading of final ordinance, ordinance 2022-13, an ordinance authorizing the conveyance of certain real property owned by Oconee County consisting of approximately 1.5 acres and being a portion of tax map 160-00-04-060, parcel 1, and authorizing the receipt of certain real property owned by Luther L. Lyle et al., consisting of approximately 1.5 acres and being a portion of tax map number 160-00-04-003, parcel 2, in exchange for the conveyance of parcel 1 and other matters related thereto. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? And I believe Mr. Lyle handed out some data, if anybody wants to look at it. So, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. First and final resolution for the following resolutions. Resolution 2022-09. A resolution recognizing and designated April 2022 as Fair Housing Month. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we talk about fair housing and affordable housing a lot, and on my way home from work last night, I listened to the planning commission meeting, and they talked about the same thing. And then in the same breath, they talked about added regulations, which makes housing more unaffordable. That we're serious about fair housing, affordable housing, need to be serious about it and not add further burdens to homes, and which in the end, it affects your middle to lower income families the most, and affects them and makes it more difficult for home ownership. That's all.
Any other discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could just ask Mr. Durham what he's referring to on the regulations restricting fair housing.
There was discussing the planning commission meeting last night about mandating how many trees may be left on development for, home developments, of subdivisions, whatnot.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Resolution 2022-10, a resolution supporting the South Carolina American Revolution Centennial Commission and creating the Oconee County 250 Committee. Is there a motion to approve?
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Vote is 5-0.
Thank you. Mr. Phil Shirley, and Parks and Historical Commission members, and some community stakeholders in attendance, would you like to come up and accept?
This the commission.
Y'all got to show up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Forward to it. Forward to it. Bill, do us proud.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you. Good to see you. Congratulations. I got here twice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Appreciate y'all.
How about that?
Jump in here.
Oh, big boy, can't get no smaller.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Little photographer. Do not leave it crooked this time.
What do you say to do this?
Much better. We're gonna have to put a piece of tape on the floor.
That's what I was just thinking about.
Discussion regarding action items. Council consideration and approval of funding in an amount not to exceed $85,000 for Sewer South. Funding request is for 3,160 square yards of asphalt for repair and resurfacing of 25 driveways, 19 drainage pipes to be impacted by construction of the wastewater expansion project. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
I think the great thing about this is, we are affecting some driveways and things like that. So this is one of those things of making the area right. We were very appreciative for all of those allowing us to run Sewer South. They know the importance of it in that area. So while I think that's to be noted here, those that we are rebuilding those areas gave us the right of way to actually make this project happen. And I'm not going to steal Ms. Brock's thunder if you'd actually talk about what happened today, or do you want to do that in the next thing? What you said earlier, because I think it's important to share.
We did. At 10:37 this morning, we received the final approval on the absolute last permit for Sewer South. A long time coming. So we did receive word from Arlene Young with the Appalachian Council of Governments at 10:37 this morning. It is the last permit, and we hope, I'll be meeting with Chris at the Joint Regional Sewer Authority within the coming days for us to go over construction contract documents. And Mr. Hart, as promised, I'm gonna buy you a shovel, not a double.
I thought a double.
Thank you, Mr.
If I use a shovel, I'll need a double.
Yes, and just upnote, Mr. Chair and Councilman, for the benefit of those watching and those present. So the 25 driveways, 5 of those driveways are considered to be compound driveways. So they're either commercial or shared driveways, and that is something that we do feel like is in the scope of this for us to go back and make the driveways as good, if not marginally better than they were before we were allowed this easement for construction.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Council consideration and approval of funding in the amount of $23,400 to the Oconee Joint Regional Authority for the expansion of geographic scope in the Exit 1 and 2 basin study being conducted by Weston and Sampson from 41,900 acres to 89,500 acres. Is there a motion to approve?
Move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Road paving 2022. Roads and bridges, about $3,660,506.75 with a contingency of $366,050.68 for a total award $4,026,557.43. Procurement was approved by council in fiscal year 2021-22 budget process, budget $4,026,557.43. Project cost $4,026,557.43. Staff's recommendation that council, 1, approve the award of ITB 21-16 road paving 2021-22 to Hubbard Paving and Grading, Inc. of Walhalla in the amount of $3,660,506.75 plus a 10% contingency in the amount of $366,050.68 for a total award of $4,026,557.43. And 2, authorize the county administrator to execute the contract documents and approve any change orders within the contingency amount. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'd like to thank procurement for the process in this and submitting bids. I think they had, I was just reading earlier today, 23 companies notified and 4 companies submitted the bid, and local Hubbard Paving provided the lowest bid, and appreciate that. It's just great to have our money stay local, and also gracious to have more than one person bid on these projects, and so that's great as we continue to move forward. And Roads and Bridges has worked really hard on saving this money that we've budgeted coming out there. We got a lot of paving to do, and this is a great way to do it, to continue to put those paving projects out there. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excuse me, and it was 18 miles, is that correct?
It is 18 miles, yes, sir.
Miles. Yes, sir.
Is this, didn't we skip a couple of years where we didn't have very little asphalt?
We did skip 1 year, yes, sir.
Okay.
Of course, the price of asphalt's going up too with the price of oil.
Yes, sir, that is a fact.
And the road schedule is in the backup. It's showing 28 of 45 with how this is spent, which roads that it's on. So I think there was 27 projects, something like that, 26 different projects. That's what it looks like. That's what it shows in the backup.
Yes, sir.
So.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Title, Engineering Consulting, ARPA Funding Management Compliance Department Administration. Procurement was approved by council in fiscal year 21-22 budget process. Funding will come from ARPA funding. The staff's recommendation that council approve, 1, the award to Thomas and Hutton of Greenville, South Carolina for engineering services for the above-mentioned project. 2, authorize the county administrator to execute work authorizations from Thomas and Hutton for projects under the ARPA. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to know, they could be handling these funds, is that what this is about?
Mr. Chairman, if I may address Mr. Hart. Mr. Hart, that's a great question. So because the ARPA funds were distributed to municipalities when we received the first tranche of funding, to provide infrastructure expansion for products and services that Oconee County does not perform in and of ourselves. For example, the town of Salem is doing a water line installation and expansion. Oconee County staff we don't install water lines, and we needed the expertise of an engineering firm that would do construction oversight, general consulting, pre-construction plan reviews, engineering service reviews, and construction review for us to remain in compliance for the distribution of funds for certain projects that were outside of our normal function and scope.
And so this is also Walhalla.
I used the
Project
town of Salem as an
and
example,
was
yes, sir. So it was the
project,
city of Seneca and the amount of
And
$3
Seneca
million.
project.
Yes.
So four of our towns, right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Engineering services for solid waste, Department of Solid Waste, amount to be determined. There's no dollar amount associated with this approval at this time. Any future solid waste engineering projects that exceed $50,000 will be brought to council for approval. The staff's recommendation that council, 1, approve the award of RFP 21-14 engineering services for solid waste to Smith Gardner, Inc. of Columbia, South Carolina. And 2, authorize the county administrator to execute the contract documents and to renew this contract for up to 4 one-year renewals as long as the amount does not exceed the amount budgeted for solid waste engineering and the services provided are satisfactory. Is there a motion to approve?
Move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Request for council's approval to commit matching funds not to exceed $750,000 toward the community project funding request for Emergency Operations Center, EOC, grant program for the expansion of the existing Oconee Emergency Operations Center. The amount not to exceed $750,000 over a 3-year period. It's staff's recommendation that council approve the commitment of matching funds not to exceed $750,000 over a 3-year period toward the community project funding request for Emergency Operations Center grant program for the expansion of the Oconee Emergency Operations Center. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So just clarification, this is to move forward with applying for the matching grant, and then if we receive the grant, we'll come back forward for any money spent?
That is correct, and it is over a 3-year period. We do not have adequate funds in the upcoming budget out of the capital projects, but as that match goes on over the 3-year period, we'd be looking for local revenue sources and local grants that wouldn't require us to utilize a match for those. So any expenditure related to this grant, just to be clear, would still come back to council. This is just a request for us to apply for it.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
The vote is 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Title Services Search. Department's delinquent tax, amount estimated $135,250. Procurement was approved by council in fiscal year 2022 2023 budget process. Fiscal year 2022 budget year, budget $29,000, project cost $29,000. Fiscal year 2023 budget year, budget $150,000, project cost $106,250, balance $43,750. Staff's recommendation that council, one, approve the award from RFP 21-13 Title Services for delinquent tax to Evans M. Bunch III and Associates, Inc. of Columbia, South Carolina, in an estimated amount of $135,250, not to exceed the amount budgeted each year for this service. Two, authorize the county administrator to execute the contract documents and to renew this contract for up to 4 one-year terms as long as the amount does not exceed the amount budgeted for title services and the service provided are satisfactory. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Is this basically on property that's delinquent that we're doing the title search on?
Yes, correct.
In other words, my understanding on this is that if my property was delinquent and they put it up for sale and it was auctioned off, I've got a year to come back and pay for that property, right?
That's correct. This doesn't have an impact on that redemption period.
Well,
So in
in other
order for
words-
the county to put that property up for sale, we would need to do a search to make sure, say if it was your property, that we would ensure that it was your property. Now, and along with the 2,000 searches that are requested in this request, there will be 300 title updates.
Would I pay for this updated, when I pay the X number of dollars that I didn't pay, would I pay the county for $65 for redoing my title or title searching it?
I don't know if the secondary person does that on the redemption or if the primary purchaser does that on the day
Okay.
of the tax sale. But Ms. Corrine is here from the delinquent tax office, and I think that she may be able to answer that for you.
So it would be included in the redemption.
Oh, it is
In other words, when I paid it up, I would pay the title search too?
Yes.
Okay. I just wondered if we was skipping somebody.
Let's pass along to the delinquent taxpayer.
Or would that be
The
the
bidder.
person who purchased or the redeemer?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Corey?
Approved 5-0, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Board and Commission appointments, Building Codes Appeals Board, one at-large seat, no questionnaires on file for this seat. Art Historical Commission, one at-large seat, no questionnaires on file for this seat. Conservation Bank Board, one at-large seat, no questionnaires on file for this seat. Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, Mr. Chair.